Good evening and thanks for tuning into Mirror Now. I'm Avni Raja and you're watching The Urban Debate. Our focus on the show today is a new law that is being proposed by the Assam government. The law is being mulled as an effort to bring about transparency in the institution of marriage. So let's first understand how this would actually work. Now, the couple will be given a declaration form. They would have to fill in their personal details such as occupation, income and religion and give it to each other. The mutual declaration would then have to get registered and they can then apply for the registration of their marriage. After a month, they will be given permission to get married. Now, what has also been proposed is that these disclosures are meant for each other and may not be needed to be shared with the government. The man and woman will be subjected to legal action if the disclosure is not found not to be submitted. Now remember, this comes at a time when a lot has been said and done over forced conversion laws. While what is being proposed here in Assam is not exactly the same, it still raises some crucial questions. First of all, the basic question of whether another law is actually necessary when there are already issues with implementation of existing laws and there are other laws that perhaps deal with the same thing. Secondly, is it a move to empower women as it's being termed, or does it infringe upon one's right to liberty? Before I go across to my panel, let's first listen in to what Himanta Biswa, Assam Minister, had to say on this proposed law.
My whole submission is that you should not enter into a marriage life, or you should not got into the institution of marriage if there is no transparency between the husband and wife. So it is important for a disclosure. What is my religion? What I do? What is my earning? So it is not only, I will not say you should disclose only your religion. I think you should also disclose your income. You should disclose the member of your family. You should disclose what is your business. Because many a times a girls entered into a marriage, even if they are from the same religion, later on the girls realize that this person is doing something wrong business. So our idea is not the love jihad, the so-called. So it is a question of bringing a transparency in the institution of marriage. So Assam is going to do something which will not be against any religion. It will have an inclusive transparency norms in the institution of marriage. Suppose I am doing some business, maybe I am dealing with drugs. My wife doesn't know. So the next day, police come, police raided. So along with the husband, wife also got defamed for no wrong on her part. We have to protect that lady also. So we will go beyond. So you disclose your religion, you disclose your income, you disclose what you actually do. Once you do that, you give a written things of sort to your would-be wife, that this is what I do. Vice versa also. The wife also give it to the husband. So there is a full transparency between the two. Suppose in Assam, many people are involved with sometime you will see some people involved with militant organization. So when police come, army comes, the girls also get defamed. So if girls should know, yes, my husband is a member of a militant organization, and after knowing that, I taken a conscious decision to marry him. Absolutely no problem. But you have to know. So our act will be based on full transparency between the husband and wife, which will include your religion.
All right, let me introduce my panel who's joining me this evening. We've got Babita Sharma, General Secretary, Assam Pradesh Mahila Congress and Senior Spokesperson of the Assam Pradesh Mahila Congress. We've also got Charu Pragya, Spokesperson of the BJP. Karuna Nandi, Senior Advocate, will also be joining us. And Subir Bhaumik, former BBC correspondent and author on Northeast. Thank you all of you so much for joining us. Let me first start with going across to Charu Pragya here. Charu Pragya, if you can, of course, we did hear what Himanta Himanta Biswa had to say as far as what exactly is being proposed and the rationale behind it. But if you can just sort of, help us understand whether this is really necessary, given that a lot of the reasons as to why such a law is being mulled at this point in time, it already exists in other ways. It's covered by other laws.
So, Avni, it is of course covered by other laws in a variety of other ways. But for many things, when we realize the problem is very deep rooted in our society, we have to come up with a specialized law. This law is a very basic one. All it asks for is honesty and transparency. And if somebody wants to convert to another religion, there is absolutely no stopping that. The thing is, you cannot convert to another religion and later find out that you were duped into doing so. So I think it is coming at a very good time, because the kind of cases we've been seeing, we've been hearing, are showing that there is an entire group of people who have been concealing their true identity, getting married, and then revealing their true identity and forcing their wives to convert to another religion. So this law, I don't think, should bother anyone who is from the beginning open and honest about where he comes from, what he does, and which religion he belongs to.
Okay. Babita Sharma, your response to this law which is being proposed here by the Assam government, and let's also remember this is coming at a time when there's already been a lot of talk about, forced conversion laws that other states are also looking at this point in time. This is slightly different, but nonetheless, it still raises those questions.
See, marriage is a very, very personal affair between two individuals. So I don't think the government or any other person has any right to interfere into the marriage of two individuals. And we already know that these kind of things will happen, because we have seen that BJP's only agenda in India is religion, religion, and religion. They cannot see beyond Hindu-Muslim to further their political gains. So Mr. Sharma's statement is nothing but a political gimmick. If anybody is duped in a marriage, there are so many laws which they can resort to. There are fraud laws, there are deception laws, there are 420 laws. So why do we need another law? Secondly, another thing I want to say, that they want to diverse the income. He is saying that somebody is a militant, somebody a drug peddler. Will they even give a declaration? What guarantee is there that they will give declaration that he is not a drug peddler or he is not a militant? What guarantee is there? Anybody can be duped by a declaration. Anybody can give a false declaration. What guarantee is there? Secondly, if you don't have any income, according to the constitution, you can get married at the age of 18 and at the age of 21. You may not have any income. You may be dependent on your parents. Then what happens? You are not allowed to marry. You are infringing upon human right to have your life partner. This is what I see, and this is nothing but a political trick by Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, because election is just round the corner. And we have already seen how at every political rally, he only keeps on talking about religion, about Hindu-Muslim, about Mughals, about this and that. This is nothing but political gimmick.
Okay, all right, Charpagya, I know you want to respond, but let me also bring in Subir Bhaumik here, get his opening statements as well. Subir Bhaumik, your opening statement on this issue.
I totally agree with what Babita has said. Not because I'm a Congress person, I have a lot of issues with Congress. But the point is that you really don't need another law for this. As she said, there are laws to tackle fraud and, deceit. So it's all covered. If a husband is concealing his real identity and getting married and later it is found to be so, the wife can sue him, with at least 7 different provisions of the Indian Penal Code. I don't want to elaborate that, but I hope people will understand what I'm trying to say. Number one. Number two, is there much of a forced conversion in Assam? Is there an issue at all? I know Assam more than all these people sitting in Delhi, as my sister Babita knows. Point is, this is trying to create an Hindutva agenda in a state where Hindu-Muslim is not really an issue. Ethnicity is an issue in Assam. Assam is Bengali, Bangladeshi, that's an issue. But Hindu-Muslim has never been an issue in Assam. Hindus and Muslims married freely within the Assamese society and within the Bengali society as well. And I can give you 20 examples right away. The point is, this is a typical mainstream, quote-unquote, mainstream Indian nonsense that has been imposed on India's northeast, where diversity is a fact of life. It's a Christian region. Primarily, most of the states are Christian majority, but there are Hindus and there are Muslims, and that's not really an issue. Religion has never been an major issue there. But the BJP's politics of so-called Hindu consolidation, with which it won the last election in Assam, it thinks now they have to reinforce this. Why they want to reinforce this? Because the Citizenship Amendment Act is falling through in Assam. They can't implement it. They promised everybody, including the Bengali Hindus, you don't have to worry. It's the Muslims who will be hit by this. But then now they can't implement this because in Assam, people are against the Citizenship Amendment Act. And Himanta Biswa Sharma and all his people just can't implement it. The point is, with what issue they are going to face the next election? NRC ho gaya. Abhi Hemanta Biswa ji is saying, we need a fresh NRC because this NRC was defective. Is the government in Assam at least ever going to bother about development? Where is Look East? Where is Act East? Where is development?
Right.
You are only bothered about NRC, TAA, citizenship, and now you're bringing in this marriage law and you're bothering about things like disclosure of, husband and wife. Yeah, bhai. You think girls are fools today? They don't know what their husbands are doing. They make 20 different checks before they get married. This Mr. Sharma is thinking that Assamese girls are fools. Bobby will bear me out. They are not. They are smarter than many people elsewhere in mainstream India. I can assure you that.
All right. So I'm going to interrupt you there, and I want to also bring in Karuna Nandi here at this point in time. Karuna Nandi, before we get into, how would this actually work on ground and those other nuances there, I want to ask you whether how the existing laws work in an effort to sort of take legal action in case of any kind of fraud when one talks about with respect to marriage.
For example, in cases of those promises to marry case, I think that's the biggest area, right? Where you can say that when somebody promised to marry you and there was sexual intercourse, there are some cases in which people allege that there was rape and that can be upheld at times. Now, the thing is, the Supreme Court has read that situation down and has said that only where there is an intention at the time that you were getting the person to sleep with you, to not marry them, and you lied and you induced the sexual activity by this lie, that promise to marry case come in. A lot of feminists are divided over the principle of this, but this still exists in the law in this read down fashion. Secondly, there's also the regular fraud provisions that could be used creatively. But most significantly is that where there is a breakdown of marriage, the cost of the marriage, for example, tends to be an issue, and which side will pay for it. Usually, in the Indian patriarchal setup, very often it's the woman's side that pays for the wedding, and so sometimes
not in Northeast
proceedings. Okay.
Not in Northeast. Sorry.
I'm sure in Assam it varies wildly because there are many different kinds of communities in Assam. So in some situations, you will find that in the dissolution of marriage, the damages come up. I think it's very important to remember, though, that in judgment after judgment after judgment, the Supreme Court has found that women have free will. And the centrality of consent has been upheld, right? And so in the Hadia case, for example, right, where even the National Investigative Agency was gotten involved because they said that her husband was involved in terrorist activity, and saying that she was somehow deceived into marrying him. That marriage aspect, I think, even though the Supreme Court heard the matter a few times, and I think that was perhaps a bit unfortunate, ultimately, they said absolutely clearly that, look, she has free will. And if she wanted to convert to Islam after she married him, it's up to her. It's perfectly fine. And ultimately, look, what is fraud? I think that if somebody is telling you that they want to marry you because ultimately they want you to convert to their religion and they're willing to marry you for that, that seems like a sort of really crazy, unlikely sort of situation to me. Right. And most of these had cases are not borne out by fact. So this is a complete eyewash. It's a cover for the miscegenation laws that they had in Nazi Germany. It's basically they don't want Hindus to marry Muslims, particularly Hindu women who they see as their property, right? And
Right.
what it also paper over is
Absolutely.
huge.
Right. So Karunanandi, you're essentially saying this is sort of, another way of going around what we're seeing in other states, talking about forced conversion laws and finally achieving the same end there. All right, Charu Pragya, I know you want to respond to the other panelists. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, we are always talking about Hadia, I understand, but there is also a Fatima on the scene. There is also a girl who is even today stuck in the jails of Afghanistan because something like a forced conversion happened. Now, I am not saying this is the norm. We understand this is the exception. But if there is an ugly exception in our society, and if a law can protect women, I don't understand why women do not want this law to come through. The law is very transparent and basic. The law only says that you be honest about your background. The law only says that you reveal clearly where you come from and what you do. And this only empowers women. And it's really sad. The Congress spokesperson is a woman. The lawyer on the panel is a woman. They find reasons to oppose a law as basic and as good as this. There are many reasons for conversion. I understand. Women convert to another religion out of their free will, I understand. But why is it when they are forced to do so, when they are beaten up, when they are raped, when they are even murdered, they are hidden from their families, they are kidnapped, all sorts of atrocities they go through? Why is it that there is no specific punishment that is in place which makes our society more aware of these kind of crimes, which makes women more aware that such things can happen? And when they go and fill up this declaration, they are aware that they will be converting, they are ready for it, and they also know what they are in for. They also know, they know the person who they are marrying. There is no misleading here. I think anyone who wants people to benefit, who want women to live happy, transparent lives, should not have any problem with a law like this. Also, Sir was saying that Assam doesn't have any Hindu-Muslim accord. Sir, have you forgotten 2012? There was an extreme divide in Assam. And this is not about Hindu-Muslim. The recent case of this music composer in Mumbai, let me just remember his name, Wajid, I think, or he's one of the movie people. His wife was a Parsi. She is complaining of forced conversion to Islam. Why do you bring everything down to Hindu and Muslim? Can you not keep everything to
Charu
protect
Pragya, you are the one who's bringing everything down to Hindu-Muslim. Not one other person here has been bringing everything down to Hindu-Muslim. You are the one bringing everything down to Hindu-Muslim. Everything, all the laws that you're just talking about to protect women, it's coming down to Hindu-Muslim.
Muslim from Ms. Sharma's mouth, not mine. I'm responding to that charge.
Karunanandi, I saw your hand up. Please go ahead. Respond to what Charu Pragya had to say.
I think if the BJP spokesperson's statements are a reflection of the BJP, what the BJP actually thinks, that unfortunate at best. There seems to be an innocence about the provisions of the Indian Penal Code. There are a vast number of provisions for rape, for battery, for beating up, for all sorts of things that she is concerned about, and she, seems to think that nobody else is concerned about. I and many others were part of making these laws, the new anti-rape laws that she is still innocent about, but she seems to have a phone at her disposal. Google it, madam.
I would appreciate it if you do not make personal attacks, Ms. Nandi, because I can go on and tell you that in spite of having a lot of laws in place, misdeeds continue to happen in this country. And what you're passing off.
All right.
I agree with Charu on that, because these misdeeds are happening in all the states where BJP power. What is happening in UP with Dalit women?
All right, I think let's wait for Karunanandi to finish, and Subir, I'll come to you after that.
Them. Why is it that bothering you? Even if there is a coalition of existing laws.
So why is she interfering?
All right, Karunanandi, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you. There are a number of existing laws. Those existing laws address the crime that is being committed. The law that is sought to be proposed takes away women's agency, seeks to place limits on marriage particularly between communities. And also, the one example that the BJP on this panel seems to have come up with is the example in Afghanistan where, unfortunately, Indian jurisdiction, particularly criminal jurisdiction, certainly does not extend. So this law that has been proposed
examples.
is not
What happened in Pakistan just 2 weeks back? A
अरे
man
अखंड भारत नहीं है
is
वो.
married a woman and
Charu
then
Pragya, Karuna Nandi, finish your point. Charu Pragya, I will come to you for a rebuttal. But unless we hear out the other person, there's no point in your point. Let's just hear out Karuna Nandi. I will come back to you after that.
If you also moderate the fact that no unnecessary personal attacks are made on my
Yes,
opinion.
no personal attacks. I agree with that. Karuna Nandi, please go ahead.
Thank you. And I would request you to mute her while I'm speaking, because otherwise there's all this shouting really with very little basis in knowledge. So therefore, what do we have?
That was another personal attack.
Constitutional, anti-constitutional laws are being brought in by the BJP or, in various states, right? Now, constitutional challenges unfortunately take time, and the ambit of review of the constitutional courts is limited. So in that time, they take away not only women's agency and their ability to marry who they wish. And let us be clear that people are always lying about who they are when they get married. I mean, some people say that I'm a brilliant cook, whereas actually, they're just learning to cook at their mother's house, as they speak, right? There are people who lie about all sorts of things. There are laws to address this. So it's a complete eyewash. The laws,
right.
The Love Jihad, this Assam law that's being sought to brought in is a complete eyewash.
Right.
It is against women's agency, and it seeks to bar marriage where people would be willing to do so otherwise.
All right. I'm going to first go across to Babita Sharma because I know she has to leave. Babita Sharma, please go ahead.
Well, the BJP spokesperson has said that I talked about Hindu-Muslim. In fact, the law itself says that it's a marriage between a Hindu and a Muslim. You have to talk about the religion. So that itself proves that they are going by the Hindu agenda, So that's my point of view. I just place across. So he needn't be so hectic about it. Anyway, so one more thing I want to say. She said that Assam has been riddled with communal violence. She talked about 2012. I don't know what example she was giving about some Parsi person. I'm not aware of that. But because we hardly have any Parsi person in Assam. Coming to that, I second Sumir Bhavekda that Assam has been a place of communal harmony. I'm sure the BJP person will know that this is very new. This kind of things are very new to Assam. The kind of culture they're trying to bring in from UP, from Madhya Pradesh, those kind of culture is very alien to us. We have friends who have married willingly. Inter-religion marriage is not very much, but it is common. It is common, and we have no problem with that. And if you see in an all India level also, as far as I'm aware, the inter-religion marriage are very less. They're 2%. If I'm not mistaken, it's not like a huge thing has happened. It is not the norm, it is an exception. So when it is an exception, why do we need the law? And secondly, she also said that we have to be worried about what's happening. Yes, we need to be worried about what's happening. We need to be worried about Hathras. We need to be worried about many such incidents that have been happening under the Modi regime. So what are they doing? Have they done anything? That is my question to them.
Okay, yes, Charu Pragya, please go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, let me correct the so-called very learned lawyer that the girl I was talking about, Fatima, is an Indian. She was converted in India and then taken to Afghanistan. So cannot you do not.
All right, we'll just try and get that line back with Charu Pragya. We seem to have lost that connection. Subir Bhaumik, you also wanted to come in here.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Now, there is a huge danger because we have seen the NRC CAA experiment and how minorities have been targeted during the NRC exercise, where vigilante groups have been active in pushing people out of the national register for citizens by browbeating the local bureaucracy. Now, the danger here is that before your marriage, if there is a Hindu-Muslim marriage happening, you have to make this disclosure 1 month before that. I can give it to you, I can bet my head on this, that these BJP vigilante groups, the new Hindutva vigilante groups which are emerging in Assam, are going to come to know about somebody, some Hindu marrying some Muslim, especially, this women thing, the Hindu women marrying a Muslim man. And moment these vigilantes come to know, because this disclosure is going to be 1 month before. It's not this income is all bakwas. It's all nothing. It's the religion thing. That's the agenda. Because Himanta said so many things, but this lady from the BJP made it very clear that it is conversion. It is that agenda. So, we know what the agenda is. The point here is, in Assam, how this is going to play out on ground, because I've covered Assam for 35 years. I'm not a fly-by-night chap when it comes to Assam. I've lived there. Now, what will happen is, moment this disclosure form is filled up by a couple, a sort of future couple, it's going to get leaked out. It's going to get leaked out from the local bureaucracy that this marriage is happening. And you will then have a lot of pressure on the Hindu lady's house that how is your daughter going to marry this Muslim man? And there will be a lot of pressure, there will be hangama there. So, and this is how this whole Hindu-Muslim marriage is going to be stopped. I'm telling you, this is exactly what is going to happen. I know the agenda for these people. This is how they're going to play it out. That 1 month before the marriage, when you make this disclosure, why can't you have, if they want this disclosure is so important for them, they should have it alongside the marriage document. When you fill up the form for marriage, then you can give all your personal details there. Why do you want it 1 month before? The reason is 1 month before, moment this disclosure form is filled up, the local BJP units are going to come to know of it. They are going to go to this, girl's house or whatever, or a man's house, and create a huge local pressure so that the marriage does not happen. And this is exactly the UP Gujarat model which is being brought into Assam. I agree with Bobita. I've lived 30 years in Assam, and I'm from Tripura, with neighboring states. So, there have been Assamese Bengali issues, ethnic issues in Assam. But religion has never been an issue. This is what people don't understand. There has been Bengal Kheda Amendment. There has been violence in Assam. But the point is, when the Assam agitation started, it began with the lynching of a Bengali Hindu engineer, Robin Mitra. It ended with the massacre of Assamese, Bengali Muslims in the village of Nelly. But it was, an issue of an ethnic nature. It was never religious. I agree with Bobita.
All right.
These
Sabir
people are trying to
I'm
bring
going
in
to go
the
back to
religious
Charu
agenda
Pragya.
here.
She was trying to make her rebuttal there. Yes, Charu Pragya, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected, Avni. What I'm trying to say is it's really ironic that people are passing off Indian citizens who have suffered through agony, who are now stuck in Afghanistan, who had an Hindu Indian name before she was forcibly converted. So it's really sad that these kind of people are written off. It's really sad that a law which is bringing into place more protection for women is being written off only because of a political agenda. If there is no political agenda, the law is crystal clear. You write what you do, you write where you come from, and that is it. It's as simple as that. If you have nothing to hide, why protest? I think if you're protesting so much, the Hindi saying goes like this, चोर की दाढ़ी में तिनका है. इतने सारे तिनके लेकर आप चल रहे हैं यहाँ पर, अगर कोई तिनका है ही नहीं, please go and fill out that declaration form. Also, even if it is the exception, even if these kind of things don't exist very much in general in Assam, that's fantastic. But why not protect women? And see, it's happening. You rightly said, in Uttar Pradesh it is happening, in Madhya Pradesh it is happening. So if in Assam, even if there are a couple of cases, the data will start coming.
Charu Pragya, let's talk about how cases of crime against women are handled across. Let's forget just Assam right now. Let's look at how crime against women is being handled across India at this point. Look at the cases of dowry cases from 2015 to 2019. It has gone up to 13,000 cases, more than 13,000 cases a year. Acid attack cases, marital rape cases. Marital rape is not even considered a crime. Look at all of that. What is this?
Managed to do everything perfectly and properly. There has to be a role society has to play.
There is a law, there are laws in place, Charu Pragya, but I'm going to let Karuna Nandi respond to you because I saw her hand up. Yes, Karuna Nandi, please go ahead.
Under the guise of protecting women, for a long time, patriarchy has consistently attempted to bring in laws that actually inhibit women. In the Anuj Garg case, what happened under the Punjab Excise Act was that they said that people trained to be bartenders, there are women who train in Oberoi, etc., to go into hotel management, they train to be bartenders. They said they can't be bartenders because we are going to protect women from this kind of immoral, difficult work. What the Supreme Court said was they cited Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the standard of strict scrutiny, that when a legislation appears to be beneficial and it appears to be protecting women, and you have to basically look beyond it if it is treating people in a disparate manner. What this purported legislation attempts to do is to place fetters, and to place fetters
Absolutely.
in particular on people who of different religions who are attempting to marry each other. The percentage of people who marry each other from different religions in India is already minimal. What is huge is marital rape. Over 90% of the rapes that happen by husbands of their wives. I'm leading the case in the Delhi High Court to criminalize marital rape. At the moment, it is not criminal. What did the BJP say there? The BJP said on affidavit, Google it, it's available online, that the institution of marriage must be protected. And therefore, we cannot go into the bedroom, that you can't make the rape by a husband of a wife criminal. Domestic violence has gone up hugely during COVID. Dowry, the dowry cases you cited are snowballing. The only thing that the BJP appears to be interested in is women as property, curtailing Hindu women's agency, and making sure that people across religions don't marry each other. There was just one limited factual point that I wanted to correct, which is that under the Special Marriage Act already there is a public notice that is put up and objections sought. And so it's very similar to what is currently being proposed. The constitutionality of that has been challenged because, of course, it's true that various vigilante groups allied to the BJP come and are empowered by these sorts of laws and feel free to intimidate and beat up various people who are attempting to do what is their constitutional right. So this has been correctly challenged, the provision under the Special Marriage Act, and let us see what happens to that.
All right. Charu Pragya, respond to that particular point that Karuna Nandi was just mentioning, and I also brought up in terms of the crime against women after marriage, whether you're talking about, dowry, whether you're talking about marital rape, all of that, domestic violence cases, none of that seems to make any way in terms of the kind of focus that pre-marriage is being given here, in focus of not allowing, forced conversions happen. All of that is being given so much more importance than post-marriage. Why? Why is that?
No, absolutely not, Avni. Protecting a woman from her birth till the end of her life is all equally important, whether before marriage or after. And I'm in agreement with you. The rising number of dowry cases are alarming. They are scary, but there is a law in place which has consolidated other things, brought into place, and made sure that there is one single available law which women can turn to in their time of need. The same is going to happen with this particular law. Another thing is the reporting has also gone up. So when the reporting goes up, the number of cases that are being written about, talked about, they are going to be higher. Also, we have a better way of measuring data when we have a law in place. The same is going to happen for the conversion law. I want to make one more point. My lawyer colleague here was talking about the Special Marriage Act. Yes, there is a Special Marriage Act, but she is going to be aware of this as well. With the Special Marriage Act, if a Hindu woman marries a Muslim man, she cannot inherit his property. There is still going to be Sharia law in place for that. She will have to convert if she wants to inherit her husband's property. So you cannot at one point of time be talking about neutrality in law for religion and at another point of time encouraging a law which is barbaric, which is old-fashioned. So let's bring everything to one single platform. Let's talk about equality in the true sense. Any sort of crime against women is equally serious. And sitting here
then
today,
give it the same importance. That's not happening. No matter what you say today, it is not being given the same importance. Yes, what you're saying, all crime against women needs to be given the same importance, but that's not happening.
Absolutely.
There is no movement towards saying that marital rape is wrong. Over there, it comes to protecting the institution of marriage. What happens then? How is it protecting institution of marriage when it comes to marital rape? And that is how so many of the rapes actually happen. if
Supreme
you are
Court
saying
has
protect
many a
women
time
across the
maintained
board,
that
then show
marital
that
rape
in
is rape,
terms
and
of
I am saying
actions
the same thing.
that I don't see at the moment. And the other part here also, Charupragya, which I want to talk about is how is this law actually going to work? How are you going to ensure that, you know, you have the disclosures are right if somebody is, like Himanta Biswa was talking about, you know, dealing in drugs, for example. How is he or she going to actually put their name down and disclose that, yes, this is what they are doing? Who's going to make sure? How is the implementation going to happen? It's going to be, again, even if you put everything else aside, it is going to be one more law where implementation is going to be a massive failure like we are seeing already with so many other laws.
So, Avni, are you trying to say for fear of an accident, we should not even sit in a car? That's the argument you're making
No, that's
right
not
now.
the argument I'm making.
No,
That's
that
not
is
the
the
argument
argument you're
I'm
making
making.
right now, that because there could be some law which was partially implemented or they are facing challenges in implementing
I
something,
am
we should not
saying
even
there are
attempt to
laws
make our world
already
and
in
country
place.
better.
I am saying there are laws in place for all these things that you are trying to
Yes,
protect
which are
for a woman.
scattered all over the place, Avni, collating these things, bringing them together, making sure people are aware about these concerns. I think it is only good and there is nothing bad that can happen out of this. Yes, of course, people can still lie on affidavit, but if they act on this affidavit, even if they are lying afterwards, they are going to be criminally liable. We understand that, so they are going to be very careful about lying.
Charupragya, women
And there are
today
all sorts of
in
lies that
marriages where they are getting raped or where they are being abused don't come out and report it. What makes you think women are going to come out and report in such cases? Where if they suddenly find out, oh, their husband is a drug dealer or, oh, they're involved in militants, giving the examples that, Biswa was giving. How is that going to happen? All right, we're running out of time. Let me, in fact, I saw Karunanandi's hand as well as Suvir's hand up. Karunanandi, please go ahead.
I'll let Mr. Bhaumik go first. I'll go last.
Yes, Mr. Bhaumik, please go ahead.
I'll make two very quick points here. One is, you know, women in Bengal, women in Assam are much more empowered socially because of the long tradition of gender empowerment in these areas. So here, if the boy has cheated, if the husband has cheated, women can go to the community and the community acts very, very strongly. It's not like in mainland India or whatever you call it, Hindi belt, cow belt. It does not happen here. So, you know, there is a lot of social community level justice that happens if somebody has cheated somebody on this kind of a thing. That's number one. The second thing, the point that I want to make is administration. Now you are going, administration is limited. And with the kind of economy that we have now and the downturn and all that, there is a constant effort to downsize the administration. Now here in Assam, the administration, normal development, normal everything is going for a toss. Either they're worried about NRC or they're worried about citizenship. And now these kind of laws. This is what they're going to do. अपना काम कब करेंगे सब? दूसरा कोई काम नहीं है, यही सब काम है. Is this what all that the administration is supposed to do? Let us be practical, you know. You are bringing in laws which are only going to place a huge burden on the administration, unnecessary, completely unwarranted. You know, just imagine, I mean, we have seen this whole thing during the floods. People did not know whether to handle floods or to handle NRC because this NRC was sitting like an albatross on the net. The point is, and having done all these things now, having excluded so many people, 2 million people, now Himanta Biswa Sarma is saying this NRC is not perfect. It has to be done up again. तो ये NRC करेंगे कौन इंडियन है कौन नहीं है कौन लव जिहाद कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है यही करेगा ना. The people are not going to do any development. Administration is going to be bothered with ghosts which don't exist. Now, right. I want to bring up this whole point. How much conversion has taken place in Assam? How much conversion has taken place in Bengal? Do you have any data on when you do a law? You do a law when there is a serious problem to stop something evil or illegal. Is there any evidence, you know, in data, government data or otherwise research data, that this is a huge problem? No, it's not. This is falling from the sky. Chintan Sabha ka result.
All right, Subir Bhaumik, let me also go across to Karunanandi. Karunanandi, final closing comments with you. Please go ahead.
Yes, sure.
The point that Mr. Bhaumik is making, that you make a law to address a problem, is absolutely correct. Even the examples that have been brought up on the show by the BJP spokesperson are not from the state, right? So it's entirely unclear that there is a problem in existence, even to be addressed. I think the second, far more important thing is that the current problems that Hindu women face and that all women face tend to be, and the vast majority of people in our country, women in our country, are Hindu. So let's talk about Hindu women for a minute. Hindu women tend to marry within their own religions. The problems they face are in that same context, right? Now, we never see the BJP stand up for Hindu women's rights with regard to the context they're actually living in, which is Hindu patriarchal families. We never see, for example, we see in the marital rape case, for example, I was startled to hear after Bahut Hua Nari Parvar, Ab Ki Baar Modi Sarkar, I was startled to see these affidavit after affidavit saying that no, we think that marital rape is something that is perfectly constitutional, is perfectly fine, is part of the institution of marriage. Only when it comes to Hindu with regard to Muslim men or Muslim women's rights with regard to Muslim men, do these people wake up. Triple talaq is something they took credit for, even though Muslim women won these rights for themselves. The only thing that the BJP did subsequently is that they came in and they criminalized it, which is hugely debatable whether that was a good idea or not. So I think that the spokesperson Charu Pragya seems to be quite committed to women's rights. Ideally, the women in the BJP would stand up and really say enough is enough, and that we care about Hindu women as well as, in their normal context, not normal, but in their most frequent context, as much as we care about Hindu women in other contexts, and as much as we care about Muslim women's rights, and that Hindu women's rights are extremely important. Let us stand up for Hindu women when it comes to marital rape, when it comes to divorce, when it comes to various kinds of domestic abuse, and let us implement those laws. Let's make it happen, because that is something that there's some agreement on across the board. So let us make that happen.
All right. On that note, with those comments, it's completely out of time on this debate. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. The questions really, that I started this discussion with still remain, because whatever said and done, there are laws that are already in place. Is there really the need for one more law to add to the burden of implementation? Will the implementation actually be smooth? And the way so far, yes, it's just a proposal, it's still in the works. The way it's being mulled really raises a lot of questions on how is it actually going to be executed. There is no clarity on that so far. So aside from the larger questions here, the actual questions of also how will it be executed still exist. And then of course you have the larger questions of whether this is an infringement on one's right to liberty. And time and again we have seen everybody from the top court right down to other courts talking about how when it comes to the institution of marriage, nobody else has the right to interfere. Nobody, not even parents, not any courts, nobody has a right to interfere in the institution of marriage. After that, we are seeing all of this happen. But, this debate will continue, and of course, we'll have to wait and see the modalities of this law if and when it actually goes through. Thank you so much for watching.